Okay, everyone, a little backstory on this video. Basically, this guy named Lockstin, also known as Gnoggin on YouTube, already did this, even though I had the idea before he made this. So, I was just waiting for the other 5 DLC characters to be revealed, but hey, I guess I'm doing it now. Thanks, Lockstin. But no, seriously, go check out the Gnoggin channel, it's actually really cool. They're fun guys. Never actually met them, but hey, let's figure out Pokemon types for every single Smash character. Now, let's start off with Mario. Mario would be easy, fighting fire, because let's face it, Mario is a pyrokinetic freak. Also, he's been seen using his sort of kick, jump. Sorry for that interruption. But like I said before, he has his sort of kick jump thing, and he likes to punch blocks. So, I found that warrant enough for a fighting fire type. Next we have Dr. Mario, which I would sort of see as a steel poison because, well, prescription medicine are drugs, and he's got a lot of medical tools to help him out. So yeah, steel poison seems good enough for him. Okay, now with Luigi, I can see as flying normal because he has the higher jump than Mario. Also, he uses Poltergust to suck up and vacuum enemies. So, yeah. He's also seen using a hyper jump. So, yeah, Luigi, jumping normal. Also normal because he's afraid a lot, which most people are. Next, we're doing Princess Peach and Princess Daisy. Now, Princess Peach I see as fairy flying because she has a bunch of magic attacks in the Mario RPG series in Super Princess Peach, the DS game. Also, she floats around a lot. So, yeah. Also, Daisy would be ground fairy because she's a princess, and ground because she's sort of a tomboyish character, and daisies are a part of the ground. Next we have Rosalina and Luma, which I consider fairy flying because, well, she's in space, which is high above the sky, and fairy for obvious reasons. Alright, now Yoshi I'd see as fairy dragon because depending on what he spits out, he can sometimes spit out fire. And in his final smash, he can, well, just fly around and shoot people with fire breath. Also fairy because he's just so gosh darn cute. Next we have Bowser, which would obviously be dragon fire. Dragon because he's a reptilian creature being that's big and scary, and fire because he likes to bring down fiery flames upon everyone. Next we have Bowser Jr., which I think to be dragon steel because he uses a lot of steel type things, like his flying mobile, the Koopa clown car, and he also likes to use metallic arms for punching bags, and a fork, and bombs. So, yeah. Dragon Steel. Next, we have the most confusing character in Smash Bros. Piranha Plant. 1, grass, for obvious reasons, he's a plant. And 2, I think steel, because he's always in a pipe or pot. And 2, because he likes to hurl around spiky balls at people. So, yeah, I think that warrants steel. Next, we have Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. Donkey Kong would be fighting normal, 1, because he's just a giant gorilla, and 2, he likes punching things a lot. And Diddy Kong would obviously be normal flying, because he has a giant jetpack around him at all times, and he's just a normal monkey. For King K. Rool, I was just thinking steel because he doesn't really have any more qualities than steel. He's got an iron plating on his stomach, his crown they likes to lob at people, a copter pack, and he also likes to hurl cannonballs at people. So yeah, just steel. Next we have Wario, who I think should be dark fighting. 1, because he's the opposite evil version of Mario, obviously, and 2, because he's big and strong and likes to charge at people. So yeah. Next we have Kirby, who I think should be normal fairy. Fairy because obviously nothing else would fit him except for normal, because he's just a guy that likes to eat, and don't we all? Next we have Meta Knight, who I think should be steel flying, because he has a sword, obviously, and his mask. And anyone who has played against Meta Knight knows the pain that his wings can do. Next we have King Dedede, who's just sort of a penguin with a hammer. Nothing that special. So yeah, just normal. Next we have Rob, who I think should just be steel, mainly because he doesn't really have anything else. Like, he just shoots laser beams, and just steel, basically, because he's a robot. Now the 3 Star Fox characters. Right, now I think Fox should be steel normal, because he's very orderly and likes to do things right and by the book. Also, he uses a lot of tech. I think Falco would be steel flying because of his tech, and he's a bird, of course. And I think Wolf should be steel fighting because he always likes a good battle, and he has a lot of tech. Next we have Solid Snake, who I think should be Ghost normal because he's just a normal spy. But that's also why he's Ghost, because he can easily sneak around corners and never be spotted. Mega Man has a lot of abilities, but I think just for his main abilities, he should just be Steel, because he's really just a normal robot in his main form. Personally, I think Wii Fit Trainer should be fighting normal, because she's always fit, and because look at her vacant. I think I'm mispronouncing it, but vacant stare in her eyes. That's pretty normal for most people, right? Right. I think for Wii Brawler, he would just be a normal fighting type, and for Gunner and Sword Fighter, they'd just be Steel type, because Gunner doesn't really use anything electricity based or anything else, so yeah, just Steel. Next, I think Marth and Lucina should just be Steel normal, because they're just simple sword fighters. Nothing else, really. Roy should be Fire Steel, because his sword is blazing, just like in the games, blazing sword. And yeah. Mars should also be Steel Fire, because his sword also lights up a spark from every occasional final smash, so yeah. I think Robin alone should just be Fairy, because he just uses a bunch of magical elemental spells, so yeah. I think Corn would be Steel Dragon, because look at all that body armor. Also, Corn has a tendency to turn into a dragon every once in a while, hence their final smash. And wrapping up the Fire Emblem characters, I think Chrom would just be Steel normal, because he's just a normal sword fighter, like most Fire Emblem characters. Shulk should be Psychic Fairy because he can see into the future, and his Monado has all sorts of different types, which could be considered some sort of mystical fairy energy. So yeah. Next we have Samus, who I think should be Steel Electric because her blaster fires a bunch of electric beams, and she's prone to wearing body armor and using rockets, which are steel, if not some other metal alloyed. Zero Suit Samus, I think, should be Electric Normal because outside of that suit, she's just a normal girl with a electric laser whip pistol. So yeah. I think Dark Samus should just be Dark Steel, seeing as she uses evil phase-on energy to use her suit that protects her from any damage. Well, mostly any damage. Next up is Ridley, who would be Dragon Dark, because he's pretty freaking evil, and because he's a space dragon. Not much else to say. I think Sonic would be just a normal character, normal Pokemon type, because he's just a hedgehog that runs really fast. Nothing really special about this. Inkling, I think, would be Water Normal, because paintball is a pretty normal thing to do, and I know they die in water, but their ink is used pretty much as a liquid. I mean, they turn into squids that swim through it, so I'd say it's close enough. Mr. Game & Watch, I feel, would be Electric Dark, most because he's a dark, shadowy figure, and he comes from a long line of Game & Watch games, which were pretty untechnically advanced, so I sort of feel like this is a bit of irony, if you feel me. I just said that. Duck Hunt Dog would be Flying Normal. Flying for the bird, and normal for the dog. Pretty self-explanatory. Villager, I feel, is just normal ground. Mostly because he's a normal guy, and because he digs up a lot of things like fossils and those little lloyds. Also, he likes to plant down trees and cut them down with his axe, so I feel it's explained enough why I think he should be ground. Isabelle, I think, should be normal fairy because she's such a cute little pup. And she's just a little pup. Now I'm going to be typing Link off of his Breath of the Wild incarnation, which I think should be Steel Fairy. Fairy because of all the abilities he gets from saving like the spirits of like the giant mech creatures. Also Steel because look at his inventory, full of metal objects like swords, bombs, and shields. Need I say more? Now Link, I feel, young Link at least, should be Fairy Grass, because he has a lot of magic properties to him. Also, he uses a lot of wooden things, like the Kokiri shield, a wooden sword, Deku nuts, Deku stick, bunch of stuff like that. Toon Link, I think, should be Steel Fairy as well, but because he carries around a bunch of steel items, like a sword, shield, also his art style is sort of fairy-esque, if you know what I mean. Now we're on to Zelda, who I think should be Psychic Fairy, because she has the Triforce of Instinct, which makes her ultra smart, which is basically a psychic trait, and fairy because of all her magic tricks. Sheik, I believe, should be Ghost Fairy because she's a stealthy ninja that can disappear without anyone knowing. Also, Fairy because she's basically just Zelda with a different costume, so she still has the same kind of magic. Ganon, I believe, to be Dark Fairy because he's a dark, evil emperor of basically the underworld, and he uses a lot of magic type attacks. So yeah. The ice climbers, I believe, should not only be ice, but also rock because they climb giant mountains, which are also quite rocky. So yeah. Ness and Lucas should both be Psychic Fairy because they use their PK mind powers to create all this magical sort of attacks. So yeah. Captain Falcon, I believe, should be Fire for obvious Falcon punching reasons, and Flying because, let's not forget, in his actual games, he flies around in his race car. So yeah. I believe Pit to be Fairy Flying because he has a bunch of light-based attacks which are usually considered holy, which is usually considered like good magic, which is usually considered fairy type stuff. Also, he can fly around with his wings, and I know it's technically Palutena lifting him up into the air, but hey, he has wings, so it counts. And Dark Pit would be Dark Flying for the obvious reasons. Now Palutena would be Psychic Fairy, another one of these, because she's an all-seeing goddess with a bunch of mystical, magical powers. So yeah. Olimar would be Bug Grass because he's a small little guy about the size of a bug, and he commands his Pikmin, which are basically living plants. I believe Sand would be Steel Fighting because look at that whip. And if anyone has ever seen the Dissidia, I don't believe it's Dissidia for Castlevania. No, Dissidia is Final Fantasy. But anyway, so if anyone's seen the Castlevania fighting game, you know how well he is in fighting games. Yeah. Now for Richter, I choose Steel Fairy, mostly because of his whip, and because he uses a bunch of different mystical magic attacks, such as a holy light attack, and yeah, that's basically all I've got. Now on to the Street Fighter duo. I believe Ryu should be Fighting Dark because of his alternate form in some games, Evil Ryu, and I think Ken should be Firefighting because he always fights with fire whenever he wants to do a Shoryuken or something, and he's from a fighting game. Pac-Man is just a guy that wants to eat, so he'll just be normal. Cloud Strife would be Steel Fairy because look at that sword, and because he does a bunch of magic attacks, and he has a bunch of summons and stuff, so yeah, he's magical. Bayonetta would be Dark Fairy because she's a witch with a bunch of magical powers. And that's about it. Little Mac would just be normal fighting because he's just a normal boxer guy. So, yeah, that's him. Anyways, that was everyone from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and what I think their Pokemon types would be, except for obviously the Pokemon. Honestly, I'm really excited about this game, and I hope this game gets the sort of reception that Miyamoto Sakurai wanted. And, yeah, I just think this game is great right off the bat. I haven't even played it. I don't even have a Switch, and I'm excited for it. So, yeah. That'll be all for now, and remember to stay nerdy.